Welcome to the Thursday lunch session, the grand finale. You've made it. You are so close to the finish line. You're getting fueled up with nutrition, water. As we speak, you'll notice I mention water every single session we have together because hydration, it affects your brain, man. So if you want to nail the conversations, nail the deals, drinking enough water is always a good place to start. So today we're finishing in full circle of where we started with the keynote at the beginning of this event that was looking at the different demographics that you can have generationally. And we're digging into the big one coming to the industry, Gen Z today, and looking at how you can attract them with tech. And we have a great panel up here with a lot of different ideas and approaches of how they're working with and forward towards Gen Z. And so I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself, just give a 1-minute brief introduction of who you are and what you do. I'll start right here.
Hey, my name is Kate Cameron. I work at Connect Nashville under Akara Partners. We are a 500-unit apartment high-rise in Midtown, about a mile down the road from here. And we also have 16,000 square feet of co-working and 15 private offices within that. They call me the senior membership manager, so I basically manage all the sales in co-working, but I do work pretty closely with the residents. All the residents get access to co-working as well. And a lot of our residents are under 25, so finding that happy medium of integrating people that are just graduating college in with the business owners and the CEOs that are in co-working is a big part of what I do. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, I took a slightly different approach today. So I am Christine Headland, and I work for Cox Communities, which is Cox Communications. If you're not familiar, not in our market, get together with my team back there, and we are, comparable to your Charter, your Spectrum, or Comcast. So some of you think that we are your grandfather's cable company, but I can tell you we are much, much more. So I wanted to, since you've all been kind of gathering into the Western attire, I didn't check to see if anybody had cowboy boots on today. And so I thought I would be like your typical Gen Z and hit ChatGPT for my intro. So here we go. It says, howdy y'all. Gather around and hitch up your horses because we're fixing to take a ride down the old dusty trail of multifamily living, where fast internet and smart tech reign supreme. And who better to lead us through this wild frontier than Cox Communities? Lassoing them in Gen Z renters with a twang and a click and maybe a little managed Wi-Fi. Now, let me tell you, Cox Communities ain't your average cowpoke. Oh no. They know their way around them smart devices faster than a coyote on a chicken coop. They've been roping in them Gen Z renters left and right, showing them that life in your communities is more than just hay bales and hoedowns. It's about connectivity and convenience, y'all. So grab your boots and dust off your 10-gallon hats, because we're going to share some tales of how we're bridging the digital gap and keeping them Gen Z renters two-stepping their way into our hearts and homes faster than a runaway train.
That is epic. Well done. Ryan, I'm sorry, but you have to follow
I don't know how I follow up to that, but...
Well, I thought they were all having slides, so I thought I had to be a little more creative.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So my name is Ryan Wilder. I've been in the technology space for the last 15 years or so. Been with NICE North America for 6 years. I come from the technical side of it, and then I just kind of came into the builder program the last year or so. So NICE North America, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, we manufacture smart technology, security. We do a lot. We do security, we do home automation, we do speakers, we do garage door openers. So we encompass a lot of technology in the space. So,
great. Hi, Dean Martin, President of Pacific Partners. We're a developer. We develop multifamily lifestyle communities. Our headquarters are in Eagle, Idaho, just outside of Boise. We invested seed capital into a multifamily smart apartment company in 2017. We do 100% of our projects smart apartments. Currently, we have 5 projects of about 1,000 units. Yeah, happy to be here. Yeah.
Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Okay, so as we dive into the conversation, I want to provide a little bit more context on Gen Z. You heard a decent amount about them if you were at the keynote, and I'm sure you have your own opinion that's beginning to be formed. But the Consumer Technology Association had put out some very specific numbers about their opinion on technology, which I think can really help guide our conversation today. So, there's significant sizable group, 69 million is the report that I saw. And they differ the most from Gen X and Boomers, so the way it has been with renting multifamily. And they do hold a lot of similarities to millennials in that they both have similar product preferences and usage, a willingness to splurge on future tech purchases, and a lot of reasons for signing up for subscriptions. They're not unfamiliar with them. But Gen Z differs from millennials in their high likelihood of being early technology adopters. And I think that's an interesting thing to know when you're always looking at the curve of technology and what you want, what you're going to do. Gen Z is very much comfortable to sit on the beginning of that wave. Mm-hmm. Not only do they indicate they are much more likely to be an early adopter of technology, but they also have a high likelihood of sharing products. They're very comfortable with that, especially it says among younger Gen Z, which is interesting even from a community perspective. And then they also have a bent towards the most subscriptions. So subscription models do not scare them as well in the reporting of the study. 86% of Gen Z in the research done by the CTA agree that technology is essential to their lives, which is substantially higher than any other cohort. And 6 in 10, to put a direct number to it, report they're early adopters of technology. And lastly, 41% of them, pretty statistically significant, say they're willing to splurge or pay a lot to get the latest technology. So it's on their radar, and they're willing to part with cash for it. They also have a lot of products. Out of all the groups surveyed, they were the highest ranking of 32 possible technology products. They all had an average of 13 of them. So they're into the technology. Last but not least, they don't have as many televisions as previous generations, which is interesting to note. And gaming is extremely important to them. They're very likely to personally own streaming devices or gaming consoles or portable gaming consoles. And so anything at all that directly impacts their ability to game, such as Wi-Fi speeds, if you're looking at managed Wi-Fi, is important to them. Last but not least, smartphones are the preferred device for Gen Z when it comes to watching content, not the TV. So having those different stats as we get started on the conversation, I want to go down the line and just get your opinion, like, where are you as far as looking at the defining characteristics of Gen Z and how you're utilizing them in your unique space? I'll start with you.
Well, I mostly work in sales, so my purpose is to basically relate to everyone that walks into the door. I'm 30, so I'm a little bit older than a Gen Z, but I do my best to stay hip with them with their ever-changing technology. I always just try to ask them questions, because if you get integrated with something that they're interested in, they will speak up and talk about it. But if you try to do an old school sales process with them, they don't care. They're not going to vibe with it. So I really try to find out what they like, what they're studying in school, why they graduated, what job they're trying to go for, and how we can help them progress to that. So if they, want to be a lawyer and they're in grad school and they need a place to study, I'm going to tap into that. Maybe they'll buy a dedicated desk in our co-working space. So I'm just finding those little nooks and corners that I can relate to them.
Love that. Yeah. Christine?
Gosh, I think we've hit that target. The company's been looking at that for years. And so, first I will say, just overall technology speed, internet speed is key to them. And so where before, and I don't know if anybody in the room remembers when you had 10 meg and you thought that was just ample. We were delivering a gig to homes, and now we're up to 2 gigs to the residents, and obviously with 5 gig and 10 gig on the horizon. But you look at us, we can sit and talk internet, and we can talk about how we, where we place the internet. Are we looking at a managed Wi-Fi solution, allowing those residents to be able to walk the property and, cover the dog park? So we can sit here and just talk about Cox the whole time, but, I'll talk about, internet speed, but also there's a component of Cox that reigns very near and dear to the Gen Zers is sustainability. And Cox just has invested about $2 billion into what we call Cox Farms. And so it's indoor farming. And so it's an area that, it's probably the generation that really focuses probably most on sustainability than any others. So the company itself, thank goodness, they've really kind of geared in and knowing that, cable TV is on its way out and that we have to amp up our speeds to make sure that streaming is in, gaming is in, and flexibility is in.
Excellent observations, because definitely they pull the highest on sustainability being something important. So being able to talk about that is important. And gaming is off the charts with them.
Yes.
Ryan?
So I think the biggest thing, and especially from that CTA study, is obviously they're getting away from TVs, so they're connected to their phones even more now. So with us in manufacturing technology products, we cater to the Gen Z, right? So they want to be connected, and to your point, with sustainability, we are actually investing in new packaging to reduce waste. And we're also, our goal is to be net zero, completely net zero by 2035. So we're doing those things that are important to Gen Z.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Great. Yeah, as a developer, I think about what Taylor said in the morning program, and that is to have good partners, right? And so we can speculate what we think Gen Zs want and what they are. And so I actually have 2 Gen Zs. I have 2 daughters. They're 20 and 24. And so I just asked them this question. And it was so interesting because everything that we learned from the demographs main speaker, it was like they were like right on. So I will share real quick here. The first one is 24, graduated recently from college. And so I asked her this question, and she said, she lived in one of our projects when she was in college. And so she said, I think about Eagle Lakes. It was beyond our expectations that we could control our home temperature, lighting, lock from the palm of our hand. We like to be in control and make things easy. The app was really user-friendly and made it clear if we needed something fixed. We liked everything in one place and organized. If temperature, lock, lights, mail alerts, maintenance alerts, etc., were all in one app, hopefully tech guys are listening, right?
Yeah.
Or controlled by our phone, and it's like, this is amazing when she's, with a guarantee it would work and was reliable. I think it would make anywhere feel luxurious and worth bragging about in the eyes of a young person. Okay, that was the 24-year-old. Then the 20-year-old, she said, when I'm looking at apartments, the videos showing off apartment always grab my attention more than photos. So I would say videos showing off, all these would sell me. And then I said, okay, how are we going to market towards you? Right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wait. I got those mixed up. The first one, she said, and it was, we were just in Deltas, and they were the fans, and it was so interesting what she said. I would say Bluetooth speakers in the bathrooms, smart keypads for doors, thermostat, and being able to check on your living space through an app saying doors locked, lights off, temperature, etc. I saw any of these, I would want to live there ASAP. And then she went into the videos, and so it was like, wow, I've never talked to my Gen Zs, right? And here I develop these apartments, and they go and see them, and they just go, yeah, great dad, right? And so with this subject, I felt a little anxious about, I was like, okay, I told Jonah, I'm not a Gen Z expert. My team is, right? And so in doing all the research, I go, I own Gen Zs, right? Or not own them.
Yeah, you've paid for it. You said college, you've paid.
And so I go, I'm going to ask them, right? And it's like, they were like textbook. I responded, I go, you're a textbook, thank you, this is great. So what we do is we never want to fall into drift, meaning what we always do, try to do better, what our competition is doing, do better. It's just like push the envelope. And so it's like property management, what are you seeing? Designers, what are you seeing? Consultants, what are you seeing? And so that's how we kind of try to tap into that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love that you went straight to the source. We couldn't get better research data for the conversation. Okay, so we began also on Tuesday by talking about creating shared spaces and shared technology spaces and using tech in those shared spaces. And then we've also talked about in-unit technology. On your property and with your different solutions, is there a difference between the shared spaces and the community spaces and the in-unit spaces that matters to Gen Zers worth discussing?
Well, for me, I'm going to speak more on our co-working space since that's what I sell every single day. But what's cool about that is I get to work with all different age demographics and kind of cater to them. We do have an app-based membership platform. And from there, they do all of their billing, all of their invoicing. They book events. We have about 20 to 30 events. We have offsite events, on-site happy hours, anything you could think of. So they can RSVP to that right on the app. And then they also can buy products. So if they want to reserve a meeting room, a conference room, or they want to reserve studio space, or they want to reserve the outdoor amenity deck, we also give every single member credits, hourly credits per month to reserve all those spaces. So all of that is within the app. And I do feel like the more we integrate and stick to the app, the more the residents appreciate it rather than having 3 different platforms that they have to work off of.
Yeah, definitely. That seems like it's a huge theme. Keep it centralized.
Oh. Yep, one app. We hear that over and over and over. And that's one of the areas, in fact, I have a couple representatives in the back, John and Lance, that they work with our IoT smart tech across the country in the Cox footprint, and even they're edging outside of our footprint. But when you look at connectivity, it's not just, I should say there's a couple things that we do in unit. So you've got if you're going managed Wi-Fi, giving them immediate accessibility or bulk, but then also having that direct connection, because there are still those work from home that need to have that direct connection. They need to have that VPN to be able to work from home. So we do still, you may say, oh, we don't need that additional Cat 6. We don't need additional network being wired up, but it does secure those work from home folks that need to have that dedicated connection. When you're looking at the premise and the property, that's another thing to make sure. Not only are Gen Zers looking for the connectivity within their unit, but they're looking for connectivity at the pool. They want it at the dog park. They want it in the garage, because the thing they don't want to do is have to log on to another source if they're traveling about the property. And so that's one of the areas that, we carry our managed Wi-Fi and network, and you should expect that from any provider you bring in to be able to go, across the entire property so that they're not bouncing around.
So I think the biggest thing is one app, right?
Yeah.
They want it easy. They want to be familiar with what they're doing, whether they're in the in-unit spaces or in the common spaces. So for us, we do a lot of clubhouses and common areas where we're outfitting them for like entertainment, home theaters, and we're able to control that through one single app. But then also, like when you start talking about in-unit. You start talking about the door locks and the smart thermostats, and even cameras, right? Not necessarily because you don't live in a safe neighborhood, but just because a lot of Gen Zers have pets and they just want to check in to see those pets or packages, right? So I think that's one of the things how we differentiate in unit and common spaces.
I love what you just said about pets, because they also pull very, very high.
Yes.
Yeah.
On pets are part of the family, and
Right.
it's a hidden but really meaningful selling point to them for sure.
Yep.
Dean, what are you seeing?
Yeah, and so you said co-working space and common area space.
Yeah.
And so project we're currently working on, 250 units in Meridian. We've got a 9,000 square foot clubhouse. right? And so we are dedicating a co-working space, and it's pretty big. Right? It's like 1,800 square feet, and it's like I think we've had more meetings about that space than any of the other. The fitness center. It's like, okay, figure it out, right? The lounge, and all that, but it's that space. It's like, what is it? And so I typically bring property management into design. And it's just like, you guys are out there every day. It's like, you tell me what we need and what this needs to be laid out. And so we go through it and creating, and so they'll create little sound rooms, they'll create little booths, they'll create little seating areas. And it's like, when I think about the Gen Zs, again, my daughters, it's so interesting is that they'll get together, but as they're sitting together, they're on their phone and they're talking and they're watching something, and so as a family, it's like, we'll watch a movie and, I'll just look around and I'm thinking, you don't like the movie? Are you watching the movie? And it's like, yep. I mean, it's just like, it's so interesting. So how do you design a space around that behavior, right? And so it's got to be like multiple. You have to give them like options, right? To be alone or together and alone. Right? I mean, so again, it's bringing in property management, it's bringing in consultants, it's bringing in architects, and our asset management is just like, guys, let's figure this out. And it's like, never stop pushing, right? Because we have to, I think, specify the future for them. They're not coming up with it. We're creating it, and then they're either accepting it or rejecting it. So, yeah, that's it on that.
This is a great observation, and that also piggybacks on, we had in the Tuesday session, the designer right here of the Music City Center. He was talking about his theory of design and those shared spaces, and he said you need nooks and crannies. You need both the togetherness and then the ability to go somewhere a little bit more quiet. And I like that you're even applying sound rules to that and just making it fit that purpose. That's great. Okay, so we're going to dive into a little bit of your unique strategies first for Gen Z. But first, are there any common misconceptions about Gen Z where you're like, no, I know this is, maybe we say it a lot or we jokingly say it a lot, but it might not be true about them? Or do we have it nailed down?
I think going with a hard theme when you're trying to market to Gen Z is the wrong way to go. They all have their own solo endeavors. What I find, they're all interested in creating a startup company. They're all interested in starting a new path, whether they work in sales or operations or law, or they want to be a nurse. Like, they all kind of want their own gig, right? So for me, anything that I market, I don't want it to feel like too hard themed to Midtown or Connect or just Nashville in general. I want them to kind of feel like they have the power to integrate their ideas into Connect rather than us trying to promote to them. I hope that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. And that they're very, very individualized.
Yes.
And they will not be pushed
Right.
into a box. So
Exactly.
it makes a lot of sense.
Gosh, I don't even know how to answer this one. I mean, it's. Are you with me, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm with you.
That one's a.
Well, the short answer
stumper.
is like, no, we're not seeing anything different. They are what the stats and the data is telling us, or is anything surprising you as you're kind of working with them?
Well, and I think it goes back to our first comments, that they are the gamers, and you have to, as you're wiring your developments, you have to be ready for that. You have to choose a provider that's not going to have to. You're going to have to come in and dig everything back up and put in more conduit to bring in a provider that's that can't grow with you. And so I would say make sure that you're setting yourselves up for success to be able to grow with the users and be able to amp up the bandwidth.
And to emphasize that this is one of those generations where you're not going to have as much wiggle room not to have that happen.
Right.
What it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know about misconception, but I just think it's expected. Technology is expected, and you have to be at least wiring, providing an infrastructure to put those units or those technology pieces or devices into the space. So.
Well, I'll piggyback on that. We also provide smart tech for multifamily, whether it's single family for rent or multifamily units. And so you want to make sure that even if you say no today, make sure that you have your property set up so that maybe tomorrow you're ready to go. I was just thinking when we first started getting into the smart tech, and we did a survey, across a couple of the properties that we had initiated, and we had some Gen Zers. And oddly enough, when we said, what was most important to them, and they said the being able to lay in bed and turn their bedroom lights on and off. And I thought, good thing you guys weren't around when you had to get up and change to the TV channel, because that was your job as a young kid when your parents would say, go change the channel. But that was the biggest thing. And then they were like, well, can I get different colored light bulbs? I'm like, are you kidding me? It was so some odd things there.
Yeah, I think the misconception I had is that they noticed all the detail. Like I was so surprised. I didn't think when one of my daughters says that guarantee it would work and reliable, it's like, you're noticing that, right? Or when she talks about mail alerts and maintenance alerts, it's like, I'm thinking they do what they do, and it's hard to communicate, right? With maybe Gen Zs, at least maybe for us, maybe. And so it's, they're not communicating this, but they're thinking it, right? And so it's like, got it. You are smart in there. You are noticing, and we need to pay attention. So,
yeah, another great observation, proving you didn't make up that you have daughters. You're going to the source, right from Gen Z. Okay, so building on that now, Kate, I'm going to come back to you, because we were able to do a tour last night of everything that Connect is doing, which is a very tech-forward property, but not everyone was able to attend. So I want to give you a chance to just kind of give people the overarching high-level view of what you're doing and what you're really seeing working, especially with Gen Z.
Well, what sets us apart from other multifamily housing is we encourage residents to get out of their apartment. We have a beautiful amenity deck with tall green trees right in Midtown. I don't think any other apartment building has trees like ours. We host a lot of happy hours after work, a lot of live music. We do a massive concert on the pool deck once a month. And then we also do networking events where I invite, whether it's startup companies or network groups to come in, and then we can invite the Connect members to attend those as well. So I book about at least 20 events every single month on the calendar. So that gives the residents plenty of opportunity to get out of their apartment, network with people, and then share their ideas just as much. So yeah, we do have those 500 apartments. Most of them are, either college students or graduate students or under 25. So we do cater to that age demographic, but we also want to keep in mind that we are in Midtown and we have a lot of business folks coming in and out as well for our short-term rentals. So we cater to everyone.
Awesome. And then you do offer like a lot of amenities.
Yes.
Can you walk through that?
Of course. So yeah, we have obviously our rooftop pool, amenity deck, a full bar that we could do a full service bar eventually, hopefully. We are implementing a grocery store on the ground level called Market. It's going to be more of like a grab and go than a real grocery store, but we'll have your lattes, cappuccinos, grab and go, breakfast, lunch, some more like co-working seating down there. Or if they want to, they can go down, grab their latte, and then go up to the co-working space. And then on top of that, obviously all the residents can come down and use co-working. But then we have members of co-working that don't live in the building at all. So we also cater to that and keep in mind that like I'm talking to CEOs every day, I'm talking to business owners every day and trying to get them to use the space just as much as the people that are living there. So it's a balance between the two groups, but I feel like we always find that happy medium and we're able to cater.
One fun note, we did brainstorming on the different demographics as to what would be good in a shared space. The thing that came up was a cafe or type of coffee shop, drinks, etc. But the thing that came up with that was that they should be able to order it from their app and have it delivered to their apartment.
And the Market that we're building on the ground level will be app integrated eventually once we get our operations off the ground. And essentially there will be room service where someone can sit in their apartment, order from the Market downstairs, and then have it brought up to their room. So
perfect.
Yeah.
There you go. I thought you might have that.
Yeah.
Okay. Christine, I'll turn to you then. What do you have that you want to highlight that you think is specifically a part of your approach to Gen Z?
You know, basically, I mean, they're looking for they're looking for tech. And as you mentioned, they're not the ones that are sitting around watching movies. I have an 11-year-old grandson that falls into this Gen Z, and I just kind of chuckle because for his birthday, for a couple months ago, for his birthday, he asked for his own internet connection. So he is 11 years old, and his apparently sharing with his brother and sister and family was causing his to be glitchy. And so, you know, maybe you need a couple different internet applications going in just to, you know, connect with those Gen Zs. But, you know, I would say, you know, for us, it's really focusing on the smart tech. You know, and it's advancing. You know, Cox, we're constantly sitting around the table saying what's next. You know, you can have the locks and the light switches and, you know, all of those things that come in with smart tech, but where do you take it from there? And obviously, one of the areas that we're researching today is, okay, what about EV chargers? You know, and so now we're taking our portfolio and starting to expand just a little bit further. And again, you know, we're trying to encompass that Gen Zer.
Well, with this, again, with the sustainability expectations, it would make sense to help implement more of that charging and electrical options.
Yep. And we've got a property down in Tucson, Arizona that we posed the indoor garden, and they're kind of going across, making it live, work. It's going to be quite the property, and now they're showing interest in that garden to bring it in.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. What about you, Ryan?
So I think the way that we approach with our technology, we always talk about the app, but we want to give them the ability to personalize and customize specific things without having to rely on calling someone to do the programming for them, right? So we do that. We implement a lot of features into our technology where they can do scheduled lighting, they can do music favorites, change the background to whatever they want it to be. But then, you know, we're starting to drift into even further than that, where ultimately things are starting to do it automatically for them. So it's just making the experience for them more convenient, which I think is important to Gen Z. So. Which
we know from Dean's daughters.
Yes.
Right.
They notice. They do. What are you doing? And one thing I want to call out is you said you are putting smart technology in all of your products.
Yes.
You're doubling down on this. How are you seeing that affect your ability to connect with Gen Z?
Yeah. So the thing I think about is, I think when you go on Google Earth, you know, you pull down that little person, you know, and you put them right there, you know. So it's like, that's how I think about this. And so it starts with the marketing. So we have one of the top property management companies in the country. They're in the top 5. And so the online experience, it's like they're going to go, that's where they're going to search. So if they don't know what it is they're going to go to, you missed it, right? And so starting there, once they then decide where they're going to go look, it's like putting that person right on the ground. It's just like, so when they come to the property, it's like, what's the access? Right? And then when they get then to the property, it's just like then going to the units, keyless door entry. Then they notice the lights. Then they notice, and so we're doing all those things because, right, the Gen Zs are tech savvy, digital native. And it's like that was like a new term for me. It's like, they've only grown up with technology. And for us who didn't have technology and now we do have technology, it's like we kind of know what it is. They don't know kind of what it's not to have technology. Right. And so I think when I first came to Tech Home, it was like, do you do it or don't you do it? And it's like, it's required.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a standard. It used to be you did it for a competitive advantage. Now it's required. And so for Gen Zs, it's like keyless door entry, lighting control, thermostat control. And from our property management company, it was not just high-speed internet, it was super high-speed internet. Right? And so it's just like, and getting those basics right.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I found out too, you know, when you go in and you start looking at that marketing aspect of it, is to make sure, you know, if you're comfortable with AI and Chat GPT and those type, because your Gen Zers are going into Chat GPT and they're saying, where's the best place to live that allows dogs? And so you've got to make sure that you're staying in tune to, I call it their language.
Yes, and I'll add one more thing. Social media is super important, right? Reviews and all that stuff. And so that is like, great property management company is going to have that website with all of the social media stuff.
Can you expound on that? Because that's actually the next question is, what do you do when you're looking at the strategies for crafting compelling marketing campaigns? And what you just mentioned, social media sounds like has to be a part of that.
Okay, I'm going to pass now because
That's not
I
my
need
job.
my team up here to answer that question.
Do you have a Facebook
I just
page?
have the vision and I say, do it.
Well, you already, I think, passed on what your team prioritizes is social
Yes.
media and making sure that
And
that's
so-
a part of it.
Say that again?
It sounds like your team does prioritize social media.
Yes, they do. And it's like, I have to admit, and still going to pass because I am not a social media person. At all. And it's like, I have never been on Facebook. It's like LinkedIn is the only thing, and that's not really. And so my team, I say, know it, live it, do it, and do it right. Yeah. And so I'd have to have my team.
A different question for you then, because what do you tell them to emphasize?
Yeah.
Because again, you've doubled down on the smart technology.
Yeah.
You're putting it in every unit.
Yeah.
What do you need to see when they show you what they're marketing and what they're bringing to the table?
Yeah, she's not letting out because. Okay, so I got to pull out my folders now, guys. So I got my cheat sheets in here somewhere, and you should probably pass until come back to me. So when I find it, I'll tell you.
Okay, I'll go to you because you actually are actively doing that for sure too.
Yes, I actually just hired a event and social media coordinator. So she's starting on Monday. So she's going to take over a lot of the things that I've helped implement over the past year in my role. But yes, it's cool because she's definitely like several years younger than me. So she has all these fresh ideas that I didn't even think of. They're just so cutting edge. Like we think we're smart. We're really not that smart. But what I do find is now with the 20 to 25-year-olds, they're almost a step beyond social media now. I know that sounds odd, but if it's too Instagram heavy or too TikTok heavy, it kind of turns them off now. They're almost thinking beyond that. So now you almost have to get cutting edge with your social media to where it's something they have not seen before to grab their attention. If it's like a typical marketing campaign with graphics all over it, I find they swipe right by it. So you really got to get savvy and almost look like it's a non-marketing scheme when you are doing your social media, because that's going to grab their attention because it feels like they can relate to it rather than I'm being marketed to.
They're kind of buying into more of that influencer. So finding that influencer, to use as your marketing tool. I know, for us, which is a new avenue for Cox, is we have Cox Mobile, and of course, if you're in any of our markets, you see that we have a sheep named Annie. So Annie is our influencer.
I like it. That's unique.
My turn?
Your turn.
So we don't actually market directly to Gen Z. It's just a natural flow of technology and where it's going. But I think ultimately, the couple things that you have to really emphasize is you're doing technology. It has this, and the convenience that goes along with it. So, like an example of that is, you come home never to a dark home because the lights are automatically turning on when you enter, right? And then just kind of aligning yourself with brands that value sustainability. So
I like that, speaking to the benefit. I don't know whose ears wouldn't perk up when you talk about not coming home to a dark home.
Right.
That stuff's very effective.
Yeah.
Okay, Dean.
Okay, it's not much. Okay. And it's like I'm a little embarrassed, but it's like, so here's what one of the top management companies is: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I don't do any of them. I don't personally, but it's like they do, right? And also the chat bot and then the virtual tours, right? And so those are kind of the.
So do you offer virtual tours?
We're looking at implementing that because I don't want to say old school, right? But it's just like we want our people to come and meet somebody and show them and answer questions, right? And so we haven't yet.
But you're thinking about it.
We're thinking about it.
We'll invite you back and you can tell us how it's going. Okay. Any final thoughts about Gen Z, and this is broad strokes, anything from the specifics you think is going to really resonate with them, or looking past them to the technology and how that may be more important. Closing thoughts.
I think the main concept of marketing or relating to Gen Z is letting them be in the driver's seat and not feel like you're pushing your ideas on them. Let them, like we said with the one app, let them integrate all those features of the apartment rather than us showing it off to them. Let them kind of find it out for themselves, and then they feel like they're a part of it.
Love that.
You know, I was just going to kind of piggyback on, you know, you want that individual to be there to show them around the property. And we saw great interest when we started doing virtual tours through our smart tech, that they didn't want that. They wanted to come in at 8 o'clock at night, and they're not the conversationalists that we think they are, you know, and maybe I'm just guessing, but they kind of like that solitude. They want to kind of go through at their own pace. And we saw a lot of the Gen Z market going in on that virtual tour, you know, after hours and kind of going out on their own on that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it just, you know, kind of repeating it, but, you know, I think it's just important to emphasize that Gen Z is growing up with technology. They're early adopters. They demand the technology in these units. And it's only going to get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Double down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Double down is right. So I'll just tell a quick story. How much more time?
You've got plenty of time.
Okay. All right. So this is the 5th tech home builder that I've been to. And so going back, you know, like when smart apartment technology first came out, and it was like, what is that, right? It's like smart homes, like got it. But this smart apartment, it was overwhelming, right? And so it was a product, services, all these things. And so I can remember coming back. I got a good prop here. Coming back from the tech home builder with my, you know, luggage filled of all the brochures, and I go, okay, team, figure out these products, figure out these services, tell me which ones we need and who to go with, right? And so we were introduced to Dwello, and so is the double down. So I flew to Salt Lake City, met with those folks, toured, and I said, I'm in. But it was more than that. It was, I want to buy into your company. I want to invest. So we invested seed capital, right? And then you do 100%. So, and I know there's like, oh boy, that's big risk, right? Big risk. It's like, who do you go with? And is the technology going to stay? And so some of the criteria that I had was, are they well capitalized? And research and development, right? And then their leadership of like tech knowledge. And it was just like, I'm in. And so all those things. And so, and they had an open platform. So then to answer the question is like, tech is here. And for Gen Zs, it's only going to get more. And so to have, and not just, when I think of a smart apartment technology, I don't think of just devices. I think of the software, the platform, and the open platform to add current products and then all the future ones that we aren't thinking about yet, right? Or just all the ones we haven't added yet. So it's got to have that flexibility of what we don't know what we don't know until we know it, right? And so it's just that. And so we rely on our network of help to figure those things out, but the open platform, I think, going forward, key.
Because it helps you prepare for, like you said, what we don't know yet. And Gen Z will definitely tell us, because they'll find it and they'll decide to implement it.
Yeah, because as I'm going out, you know, and seeing all the different booths, and I start to talk to them, and it's like the light goes on. You know, it's like you don't know what you don't know, and then you do a product, and it's like, oh my gosh. Then the next thought I have is, how do we implement this?
Yeah.
Onto the dashboard. And so then I'm pulling one booth over to the other booth and going like, okay, can you guys communicate? And so it's that flexibility and ability to move forward. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to jump on here because my team would, you know, just be angry if I didn't mention it. But we are also big investors into the Level Dwello, and we work with them, and they are our platform. And so I am so glad to hear you say, you just did our commercial, so they're cheering for you back there. So we're huge investors as well, so.
Yeah, you're predicting it as the
Yeah.
future. That flexibility, having a great platform that lets you jump on any technology, which to sum up Gen Z is going to be important for sure. Okay, we're at time. I've met my goal of finishing every session, getting you guys on time, and hopefully you're going to be the next dean. You're going to slap down your stack of folders with ideas that are going to lead to really big, successful things for all of you. I want to thank you for your time, for your presence, for your participation from the very beginning in the roundtables. And that concludes all of the educational sessions and panels. Now it's time for you to head to the exhibit hall for any of your final scheduled one-on-one meetings from 1 to 3. And I just want to thank you for your participation and wish you good health and safe travels as you head home, and give these guys a round of applause for finishing the session with such great ideas.